Thanks for your time. I've got a question, just a few quick questions. What's your view on the R18 classification? Have you heard of that? The R18 video gaming classification? Well, the South Australian Attorney General Michael Atkinson is trying to ban these games which are, because there's no R18 rating right now. So what will the Greens be doing to try get the pressure on the Atkinson to get R18 games?
Look, I've only just heard about this one and I need to find out more about it, but I am aware about the issue about game classification, and the other one is non-violent erotica, where they're really coming down on that. And look, there's no problem with people looking at non-violent erotica, but there is a problem when governments start to clamp down on it and the inconsistency between different states. So I'm happy to take your contact details and get back to you with what we're doing on that. Okay?
Okay, sorry. Hi, my name is Kayon. Now, you know, it's really showing my age now, because I remember a time when the internet can actually be stored on a 1 terabyte hard drive now. Right? So, what I want to ask you is that now the way some of the Labour Party is talking about is that they're talking about an opt-in system or an opt-out. Now, would that be a better approach for us to say that we actually want the ability, yes, you can have your internet filtering, but we need the ability for somebody, an adult, to opt out of the system?
Look, as you would have guessed, I might use computers, but I'm not a technical expert. But my gut feeling on this is that we don't want to know about it. Like opt-in, opt-out systems, like the essence of internet filtering, of censoring the web, is not the way to go. Now, I'm not somebody, and I will say, I'm not actually somebody who says there never should ever be any censorship. Like you know, in terms of sort of hard copy material that might be promoting extreme violence, etc., I think there is points where you should say that shouldn't be distributed. But let's remember the nature, why I'm so much against this scheme is because we know it can't work. I'm against it because there's a political con job going on, but I'm also against it because it can't work for the intent that it's been set out.
Like the war on drugs, like the war on anything.
Yeah, exactly. And let's remember the whole nature of the internet. And I can remember again, like I said before, how I remember in the early 1990s just being amazed when, you know, I was shown it and we got our first internet site. And then reading about it and about how it was set up. So if there is a breakdown, or if it's censored for that matter, you can just reroute around it. You know, it's only going to take a few cluey, IT-savvy engineers or some young kids who totally know how this works, and they'll get around it. I mean, Zen's already set it out, you know, about the tunnelling, etc. Like, there was heaps I learned today. You know, like, it's so ridiculous. It's a massive waste of money. But what would result, if it's put in place, is a level of censorship that is just so unacceptable. So that's why, while I'm not an IT person and couldn't go into the ins and outs, my gut feeling is we have to have that simple message: no internet censorship. Thanks very much.
Hi, you brought up a point about language earlier. The no clean feed and no filter are the wrong words to use when we talk to people. It's been remarked, I don't recall where, I wandered across it browsing, that a clean feed is generally perceived as something that can only be good, and a filter's purpose is to slowly strain out all the rubbish that you get. And of course, as we know, that's not going to be effective. So how would you propose that we refer to this giant fiasco? If we're going to not be using the terms that the government wants to use, how do we explain to people that this is all just rubbish?
Look, good question. Myself, I think, and thanks for saying that, because I thought that you identified the problem we have clearly. Because clean, people like things to be clean. Filters is something people use to clean things up. So I think you're on the money, so to speak. And that's why I've just been using today that we don't support censoring the net. That's the best I've come up with, but I'd be really interested if you've got ideas on how we convey our message. Because in this life, you know, how we get our message across in that 5-second soundbite that we might be lucky to get on the news one night, let alone in our own e-traffic that I'm hoping there'll be even more of after today's rally. We need to get that going to a lot of people who are not sitting here with us today, who have not been exposed to the arguments at all. That will be the success if we're going to roll this back. And that's the best I've come up with, is no censoring the net, but I'm really open to hearing any ideas. Thanks.
Hi, Senator.
Sorry.
That's my fault, sorry. Senator, I just had a few quick questions. One, I'm wondering, like a few people have mentioned today, for everyone to get involved, the best thing is to put pressure on their local politicians, to talk to their local politicians, etc. With petitions and things like that, it's best to address them to certain people in the Senate, and I'm thinking it'd be best to address them to Green senators like yourself and like Scott Ludlam, who is taking on this campaign. Is there anyone else that you could suggest that we could pressure and that we could write to and that we could petition to actually make sure that this is presented in Parliament and this is given a voice? What other political strategies individuals can use to get it set up? And I also had a secondary question about what do you think, what sort of strategies could we put in place to protect minority groups from this kind of thing in the future? Because I think minority groups are particularly at risk and there needs to be some sort of legislation there to protect them.
Thanks very much. In terms of who to contact, look, I do actually think Conroy, Communications Minister, is really important, and my guess is that most of you will be doing your campaigning online. So I would be suggesting you send it to him and you CC Senator Ludlam and also CC Abbott's office or and I'm not sure, who's the shadow? Do we know who the shadow is? Tony Smith. Thanks very much. Sorry, I didn't know that. So shadow Tony Smith and Conroy, send your emails to CC to Ludlam. Why I say CC to Ludlam is not only does he see that there's lots of activity going on, but it's harder for the likes of the Coalition and Labor to hide the fact that they, you know, about how many protests they have. So I think that that's really worth it. I'd also encourage people to ring up. I mean, maybe, I'm not sure how strong the movement is, but maybe we have a day when we send off a protest day. Like a lot of campaigns do that. When we circulate the phone numbers and the emails of the responsible MPs that we've just mentioned and their phone numbers, and just get people to really inundate them on that day. And we have, you know, save Australia's internet, save Australia's internet reputation. But we have a day dedicated to that, and we spread the word. And remember, we've got this great tool to organise because, you know, most of the people interested in this are already on the emails, the Twitters, and everything. That we can get those dedicated messages round pretty fast. In terms of the question about minority groups, I myself, and I'm certainly keen to hear ideas, I think with regard to this issue here, it's not so much setting up special protection for minority groups, it's making sure the legislation doesn't get through. To my mind, that's the protection that all groups gain, is not getting it through in any form.